welcome back to True Crime Buzz. I'm your host, Amber, and of course, Vanessa is still out of commission, but she will be back very soon. More details to come on that. But with me again today is Miss Brittany.
Hi.
Let me guess. Diet Coke?
Oh man, I'm over here drinking a Long Island iced tea.
You are not.
No.
You liar.
No, I'm not. I'm drinking a Diet Coke, of course.
You know what? I'm getting you a wine subscription.
You say that every time, but no.
Or I'll just do Amber's wine subscription and I'll just literally mail you things myself once a month to be like, here you go.
Okay. All right. I can do that. Once a month, I could do it. That'd be fine.
Speaking of wine, I'm drinking a real winner tonight. You know, and I always say there's not a wine I don't like. Well, I just found one.
Finally.
Maybe I shouldn't say what company it is. I won't, just so I'm not trying to throw shade at anybody. But it's a North Carolina wine, which is why I got it. And it's actually a white sangria. And it's straight sugar. Straight sugar.
That's rough.
It's like the wine version of sweet tea.
Oh.
Which I love a good sweet tea, but when I want wine, I want wine.
Yeah,
you know?
no.
I don't want sugar with just a splash of water in it.
That sounds gross.
This tastes like it has no alcohol in it. But we'll see by the end of the episode if it does or not.
That's the kind of wine that really messes you up, though, because you don't think that you're, like, getting drunk, and then all of a sudden you stand up and you're like, whoo!
Maybe. I don't know. I feel like it's too sweet to have a whole lot in it. But I did pour a huge glass, so we'll check back at the end of the episode and see how I'm feeling.
Well, I'm hoping that you're lit, so.
I hope so, too. They make more fun episodes.
Yeah, they do. One of us has got to be drunk, and I'm too hooked on Diet Coke, so.
Do you ever not mix, like, anything with Diet Coke? Like, do you like rum and Coke?
No.
No?
Mm-mm. The only liquor drink that I like is a Bloody Mary. And I know you're about to be like, ah, because everybody's like, ah, that's so gross. But
people either love or hate Bloody Marys.
Well, I shouldn't say that because I do like mimosas.
Oh, yeah. Mimosas are my jam.
Because I'm not, like, wealthy. I can't afford good champagne. They always give me headaches. So I don't drink them very often. But I do love them.
Me too. All right. Well, I was trying to look back actually before we hopped on here to see, because we're doing a serial killer, right?
Yes.
And I say that because I don't know much about him other than what he goes by, what he's infamous for. So today I'm going to learn everything. But I was trying to see if this is our first European serial killer, because we've had non-American serial killers, but they were always in America.
Right.
I think this is our first one that's like overseas.
Yeah, because Hinterkaifeck was a spree killing. It wasn't a serial killer.
Right. And if it was a serial killer, we don't know.
No, there's no answer there.
Nope.
But I'm about to give a story that has an ending, because for somebody that loves unsolved mysteries, I hate an unsolved mystery.
It's definitely a love-hate, for sure. Yeah. Because I go into it like I'm going to solve this, and I never do. I never do.
Sometimes I do, though, and it's like so crystal clear. Even the cops are, yeah, because there's some that the cops are like, we're pretty sure it's this person, you know, or like the family members, but there's no evidence to
the people that won't give a comment.
Right, yeah.
Or the ones that just happen to skip town.
Exactly, yeah, they're just gone out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
So, today I'm covering the insane story of John Haigh, an Englishman with dreams of a luxurious lifestyle who wouldn't let anything stand in the way of his dreams becoming a reality. Most people make sacrifices to work their way to the top, but John Haigh sacrificed people in his attempt to get to the top and took lots of precautions to make sure he wouldn't get caught. But had he gotten away with his crimes, I wouldn't be here telling this story. So grab a drink and buckle up for the story of the acid bath murders.
See, and that's all I know about this guy is I've heard of the acid bath murderer or the acid bath killer, and that's all I got. So I am super excited.
I'm excited too. So shout out to Matt, my husband, because I did not know anything previously about this guy at all. And when I was like, who am I going to cover? He's like, you got to do the acid bath murders. So
thanks, Matt.
It's his fault. Yeah, thanks, bud.
Shout out, dude dads.
Yes. Okay, so I'll go ahead and give some backstory on this fellow. I feel so fancy because he's an English fellow. So John George Haigh was born on July 24th, 1909 to John Robert Haigh, a colliery foreman, and his wife Emily in Stamford, Lincolnshire. His parents were part of a super conservative sect called the Plymouth Brethren. His parents were very physically and emotionally abusive to John. Often they would lock him in small rooms and wouldn't allow him outside. John told people as an adult that his parents had built a 7-foot fence around the house and wouldn't allow friends over, so, this is a quote, not to be contaminated by the outside world.
Is that true? They did build a fence like that?
Probably. There was no one
Okay.
there's no reports to confirm if they actually built the fence, but like they kept him inside in small rooms. They wouldn't let him out, so
A lot of
probably.
mental health issues going on there.
And they were very abusive. His family moved to Wakefield when he was young. And as a child, John was passionate about classical music. He was a choir boy. He played piano and he excelled academically, eventually being awarded scholarships to Queen Elizabeth Grammar School and Wakefield Cathedral.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So a smart cookie.
Definitely.
So then John left school at 17 to apprentice for a motor engineer for a short time. Then his job history became a revolving door of short-lived jobs. He got married on July 6th, 1934, and shortly after his marriage, he was jailed for fraud. When he was put in jail, his parents cut off communication with him. His wife gave birth to his daughter, gave the baby up for adoption, and then divorced John, all while he was incarcerated.
And what was he incarcerated for? You said fraud?
Yes, for fraud.
So literally everyone just dropped him.
Dropped him like a bad habit. So that's sad. And especially,
That's sad.
I mean, fraud's not great, but at this point, obviously, he hadn't really done anything horrific to deserve all that. So
Right.
makes you wonder if all that hadn't happened, if he would have, if we'd even be telling this story. When he was released in 1936, he moved to London and he opened a pretty successful automotive repair shop with a friend. But sadly, his business partner died in a car accident and the business fell apart. So even more bad luck for this dude. John turned back to his criminal and fraudulent lifestyles and was charged several more times for fraud. Because I guess, what do you got to lose at that point,
Yeah, like you've already done it once and your life fell apart. So now he's just doing what he's got to do pretty much.
Well, yeah, until he had this successful business, he was trying to live on the straight and narrow and it backfired.
Right.
So
I'm not condoning fraud. I'm just saying,
No.
in his mind, he's like, well, might as well try this again.
easy to see how one could slip back into that, Mm-hmm. So, anyways, he went back to his criminal and fraudulent lifestyles, and he was charged several more times for fraud. John realized that the reason he kept getting caught was because the victims of his fraud were alive to report it. So, he decided, obviously, that he needed to kill people to get away with their possessions.
Obviously.
Obviously. Next sane thought,
Jump to that immediate next step, which is murder.
right? I'm telling you, people are skipping steps. That's why we have these stories. Mm-hmm. Being the smart fellow that John was, though, he also realized that he needed to get rid of bodies. However, he believed no body meant a murder could not be proven, which we all know isn't true.
Isn't that what Bob Marley said? Nobody, no crime.
Yeah. So, John decided that acid would be the perfect way to dispose of a body. He started experimenting with dead mice. He would put the mice in pools of acid to see how long it would take them to dissolve. That's so nasty.
We just talked about that on the Leonard Lake and Charles Ng episode.
Yes.
He did that too. Those poor mice. These mice didn't do anything to anybody.
Well, these ones were already dead. They were dead mice. So he didn't kill them, just mice around his place. He would put them in acid. So they were already dead. Got to do something with them, I guess. But still, gross.
Yes.
But he would do that to see how long it would take them to dissolve. And he found that it took about 30 minutes for a dead mouse to dissolve in acid. And realized it would take several hours more for a human body, obviously. So, with a plan in place, John set out to live a luxurious lifestyle, which included living in an expensive London hotel, driving fast cars, and having suits custom made on Savile Row, which is evidently, that's a big deal. He made himself appear rich and cultured, but was always very vague about how he acquired his fortune. If pressed, he would say, "I'm an inventor," or "an engineer." Just really vague answers. He would wine and dine people, take them to tea or a concert, strike up a friendship with people until they felt comfortable disclosing their finances, properties, and savings, where he could find these things, and then he would strike. So, He befriended his former boss, William McSwan, and on September 9th, 1944, John lured William back to his basement flat in Chelsea and forced him to sign over his possessions and then beat him to death.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
He beat him to death.
Yep. Then he put William's body in acid, and then days later he came back and poured the resulting sludge down the drain.
Oh.
Ugh, that word.
That word, yes. And then, like, picturing it.
Yeah, it's gross. And I really can't think of a better word to describe it, though. Sludge is about the only,
That's the perfect word.
It is. It's also the grossest word. Eventually, William's parents got concerned after not hearing from him. So they asked John if he had heard from William. John told William's parents, Donald and Amy McSwan, that their son had went into hiding in Scotland to avoid having to serve his country during the war. It worked for a while, but of course, as parents would do in this situation, the McSwans became more and more suspicious as the war was ending and they still had not heard from William. So they're like, okay, this is like coming to a close. There's no need for him to hide out.
Right. And parents know.
Parents know. Parents know stuff. They do. So on July 2nd, 1945, John told the McSwans that William had returned from Scotland and was staying at his flat in Chelsea. The McSwans went to visit, but instead were beaten to death and then put in drums of acid, and again, the sludge poured down the drain.
Oh my God.
Yes. John collected William McSwan's pension checks and sold the McSwan's properties, making about £4,000. And then with that £4,000, he moved into a hotel to keep up appearances,
Oh, jeez.
Which, that doesn't sound like tons of money, but this is post-war. So £4,000 is a pretty good amount post-war of money,
Yeah.
So, however, due to his gambling addiction and luxurious lifestyle, in 1947 he was starting to run out of money and set out to find more victims. He went as far as pretending to be a potential buyer for a house that Dr. Archibald Henderson and his wife Rosalie were selling. While he was there viewing the house, he stole Dr. Henderson's revolver with the intent to come back and use it the next time that he saw the Hendersons. In the meantime, he rented a small workshop in Crawley, and on February 12th, 1948, he invited Archibald Henderson to his Crawley workshop to see invention. But when he arrived, John shot and killed him with the stolen revolver. He then called and told Rosalie Henderson, his wife, that her husband had fallen ill and that she needed to come right away. When Rosalie arrived, John shot and killed her too. He put their bodies in drums of acid and disposed of them. He forged papers making him power of attorney and sold all of their possessions for around £8,000. He did, however, keep their dog and car.
I mean,
at least he wasn't an animal killer.
That's what I was thinking. I just didn't want to say it. Like, oh, humans died, but at least the dog lived.
Right. I mean, it's just things you do to, like, cope through crazy stories like this. I mean, I am glad the dog didn't die.
Yeah, I can't handle that.
No, me either. His sixth and final victim was Mrs. Olive Duran Deacon. She was a resident at the same hotel as John Haigh and the widowed wife, of war hero John Duran Deacon. She was a suffragette in her day and even did jail time for throwing a brick through a window.
I bet she had reason.
She was a badass.
Yeah.
So Miss Olive was rich. She was respectable, admired. She was in her late 60s. And she's also very smart. And she had a plan to patent and produce artificial fingernails.
What?
Yes. Our girl wasn't just a badass. She was a genius. Okay.
I love her.
I do too. I wish this was a different story.
I know.
So she heard through the grapevine that John Haigh was an inventor staying at the same hotel as her. And she decided to talk to John about it. He acted like he liked the idea. He invited her to his workshop in Crawley to look at blueprints he'd drawn up for her. And that was the last she was ever seen. Literally, a few days after that, this scum took her best friend to the police station to report her missing.
Oh my God.
Right? New level of asshole right there.
Oh, let me just help you.
Yeah, let me help you. Your friend's missing? What? But, it's a good thing he did. Because a lady police, because of course, was suspicious of John's quote-unquote jaunty behavior and started investigating him. She discovered that John had sold off some of Olive's jewelry and had her fur coat cleaned. So, obviously, he was high up on the suspect list.
Yeah, for sure.
That coupled with his several charges for fraud. He was a shady character.
Yes, he was.
When they searched in the rubble in the backyard of the Crawley workshop that John owned, a pathologist discovered human gallstones and a set of dentures. And that was all that was left of Sweet Olive Duran Duncan.
Oh my God.
Dentures and Gallstones.
That's a good name for a metal band.
It is.
What's up, everyone? We're Dentures and Gallstones.
When we're old and in the nursing home, can that be our metal band?
No, that's going to be our nicknames. Oh, God. Here comes Dentures and Gallstones.
Yes.
I'll be Dentures. You can have the Gallstones.
Okay. Inside the workshop, they found several large metal drums, several containers of acid, a wartime revolver, gloves, and an apron splattered with acid.
Mm-hmm.
So, John Haigh confessed to the murder and 5 others over the years. He admitted that he would shoot his victims with the stolen revolver from one of his victims. He'd put them in metal drums filled with acid, and after a couple of days, he would pour the sludge down a drain or in the yard. He even said that after he killed Olive, he had time for a cup of tea, fried egg, and toast at a local cafe before he put her in acid.
He just had to go get his tea and crumpets before disposing of the body in the acid bath.
Yeah.
Like a celebratory brunch for his accomplishments.
Evidently. But my thing is, why wouldn't you put her in the acid first? Because you got time to kill. Obviously, he said,
he's so hungry after murdering somebody.
I guess.
Worked up an appetite.
Mm-hmm.
I'll never understand. I don't know why we try.
We won't, because we're not serial killers. He then said that his motives for his killings were urges that he had to drink his victim's blood.
What?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh, girl, this story's so bizarre. So bizarre.
All right, give me these gory details.
So he said he'd cut into their necks and he would fill a glass or two to, quote unquote, quench his thirst. He even talked about the fact that he had dreams as a child, that he would be in the woods and trees would twist and all of a sudden there would be someone there saying, here's blood, drink, and that he couldn't move.
Is this guy for real?
Evidently. You can't make this shit up, I tell you.
You know, one day we will have this podcast in video version when we finally get the courage to do so. But I just wish you could see my face right now because I had to pick my jaw up off the floor.
Yeah, no, it's like one of those stories that just never quits getting more and more bizarre.
Well, I guess I just wasn't expecting it because this whole time, I'm not saying he wasn't horrible. He's definitely horrible, but it was like he was well educated and he got married. And one day he just decided, I'm going to commit fraud and murder. Oh, by the way, he drank the people's blood and had these weird ass nightmares. Mm-hmm. Like, whoa, let's back up.
Yeah, that's just totally bizarre.
It's a lot to unpack.
I feel like I've said bizarre 18 times, but I have no other word.
That's a good word for it.
Yes. So a knife was found in the glove box of his car. Well, actually, the Henderson's car, but his car, you know. Mm-hmm. The police believe that this whole, drinking blood thing might have been a ploy to convince the jury that he was insane to avoid the gallows, because, yes, they were still doing hangings at this time. So they left it up to the jury, and the jury rejected his insanity plea after only 30 minutes.
They could see right through it. He's too smart.
Yeah. And obviously the motive isn't to drink blood, it's to steal their money.
Right.
But they sent him to wait to be put to death at Wandsworth Prison. And while he was there awaiting execution, here we go. Here's another bizarre detail. Madame Tussauds, the wax people, came to his cell the day before his execution to make a wax model of him. And John Haigh chose and donated his own clothes for the wax figure.
Where is this wax figure? Is it in...
Still on display, my friend, at Museum of London in a special exhibit of New Scotland Yard's Black Museum. As are the gloves, apron, revolver, and Mrs. Duran Deacon's gallstones and dentures. What the fuck?
I am booking our plane tickets right now.
As I learned that, I was like, Amber and I, we're going on this trip.
We're going. We're going.
Yes.
There is like a whole museum of death, I think, in London. My black heart really wants to go.
Oh, I'd be there in a heartbeat.
Yes.
Because that's just the type of people we are. I wonder if it's the same one.
I don't know. I think it's two different ones, because isn't the one he's at just a wax museum?
No, it's the Museum of London, and they have a special exhibit of, like, prolific killers in London.
Let me look that up.
So, a sad part of the story is that through all this, his parents were very, like, public and towards him. They made it very clear that they still loved him and firmly believed that God would forgive their son. Which I feel very conflicted about that, because they were abusive pieces of crap to him and probably what led him down this life.
That's exactly what I was getting ready to say. Like, when did they have a change of heart?
I don't know. I guess, like, they were saying that they still, even though he had done all these horrible things, they still loved him. You know, they didn't associate with him, but they loved him. Kind of like, you know, people will let people hit their rock bottom to get through their problems, you know, to seek out help. And I guess maybe they just figured that was eventually going to happen for him, but it went in a different direction. But either way, they believed that God would forgive their son. John George Haigh was hung to death on August 10th, 1949.
So he was
40.
Wow.
Yeah, he had just turned 40.
This is a weird one for me because, like, I know his motive was fraud, but, like, there had to be more to it than that. You know, like the whole McDonald triad, which Vanessa and I talked about the other day. They apparently debunked that recently. Yeah. But there's usually warning signs. They usually act a certain way. Like, you can kind of see this happening and coming, and then eventually they work up the courage. I guess I just don't know, like, at what point did he decide this is the life for me?
I don't know. And people were quoted as saying that he was really friendly and, like, a great person that you'd want to hang out with. Like, people enjoyed hanging out with him. He wasn't, like, a super creep, which, of course...
So he was like a Ted Bundy.
Yeah.
Everyone loved him. He was the nicest guy.
Lots of serial killers are great at that, at hiding, you know, that creepiness that lurks beneath.
Do you think he really drank their blood?
I do.
Like, why else would you, like, where did that come from? Or else why...
I mean, I feel like, did you need that aspect to prove insanity? I don't think so. People have claimed insanity over much less than drinking people's blood. And the fact that he, like, killed people for their money and then put them in acid and just dumped them, or, like, killed people and then went for breakfast, that right there probably...
There's something going on in that frontal lobe.
Something's not right there, okay? But again...
No remorse, no conscience, just another day in the neighborhood.
Yeah, and I mean, he admitted to it, even though he was completely, like, thought that, oh, if they don't have a body, they can't convict me for murder. He still confessed to the murder, so I don't know. But they did say that he spent the days, like, leading up to his trial, trying to convince people to call him, like, the vampire killer.
Oh, is that his nickname?
No, that's not his nickname. He wanted it to be his nickname. His nickname is the acid bath killer, but he wanted it to be the vampire killer.
Wow. All right, so I found an article online. Murder weapons, death masks, and severed arms. A glimpse inside London's Black Museum. Officially known as simply the Crime Museum, the Black Museum got its start thanks to the Prisoners' Property Act of 1869, which allowed Scotland Yard to seize and keep certain belongings from prisoners in order to aid officers in their study of crime and criminology. Originally called the Central Prisoners' Property Store, it was started by an Inspector Neame on April 25th, 1874, though no official museum opened until sometime in 1875. So this place has been around for a while.
Ooh.
In spite of the name, the museum has never been open to the public, instead being used exclusively as a training tool for police officers. So we can't even go in and see it?
If the price is right, I imagine.
The museum was closed during both World Wars, but in 1981, a newly redesigned crime museum opened on the first floor of the Metropolitan Police Headquarters, where it still resides today. While it is not open to the public, bummer.
Stupid.
There are various ways to get glimpses of what it's like inside. From October 2015 until April 2016, a major exhibit featuring items from the museum was put on display at the actual Museum of London, many of them available to the public for the very first time.
Are there pictures?
I'm about to find out. Oh, there's a dedicated website. Please hold. For those who missed it, there is a dedicated website, but it was known as the Crime Museum Uncovered. You can actually purchase video tours of the Black Museum for £4.99, whatever.
What does that translate to us for American money?
I don't know, but they can convert it. Take my money.
For real, though.
The Black Museum contains a wealth of crime memorabilia. Artifacts stretch back to the killings of Jack the Ripper and include some of the letters alleging to have been written by the Ripper himself. Other items include shotguns disguised as umbrellas. That is cool as hell. A collection of execution nooses, including the rope used in the last execution ever carried out in the United Kingdom. One of the museum's most striking displays is a series of death masks made from criminals executed at Newcastle Prison.
Whoa. I bet that whole exhibit is so haunted.
I know, that's what the little ghosty inside of me is telling me.
It has to be.
They keep it at the perfect temperature of 62 degrees Fahrenheit to keep everything as intact as possible and to preserve the integrity of the exhibit. There's a briefcase bomb that was used in the Hyde Park bombing. The actual stove used by the cannibal killer Dennis Nilsen.
What?
It even includes the actual severed arms of a killer who is thought to have taken his own life in Germany in the 1950s. Holy cow.
But you're going to have to save your money. Well, not like save it because it's expensive, but save it like for when you come to visit, because we're going to like get us some alcohol and experience this together.
Yes. We are doing that. So when I come to visit, I'm saving that and I will pay for it. And we're going to sit and just have the best time.
Yeah, we are.
Oh, I'm so excited. Love our podcast? Then hit that subscribe button and leave us a review.
We're also on Patreon. Head on over to patreon.com/truecrimebuzz and join us today for access to all of our exclusive content, including bonus episodes.
You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at TC Buzz Podcast.
And last but not least, you can check out our website at truecrimebuzz.com.
Until next time, cheers.